Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Kingsley with BetterVet.
I'm Rachel, and this is my cat Turtle.
And today we're gonna dig into the million-dollar question, what should I feed my cat? So cats are what we call obligate carnivores, where we're omnivores, then others are herbivores. Cats have to eat meat specifically from animal products. So if you're going through the pet store and you don't necessarily have time to flip every single bag over and look at every single ingredient, you can look for the AAFCO certification. And that means that that diet has been tested and proven to be nutritious for your cat.
Exactly. The American Association of Feed Control Officers gives their stamp of approval if the nutritional makeup is complete, and they even have multiple life stages. So you also want to be sure that if you have a kitten, you're getting that kitten stamp of approval. There is also all life stages or adult maintenance. And as long as you see those letters, AAFCO, you know that the nutritional makeup of the diet is enough to support your cat for the long run.
But if you really want to dive into the nitty-gritty, what ingredients specifically and what is kind of the profile of the optimal feline diet? And most young, healthy cats without any sort of comorbidities or issues with their major organ function will thrive on a high protein, low as we can carbohydrate, and moderate fat diet. There's one specific ingredient that has to be supplemented in domestic cats' diets, and that's taurine. And taurine is an essential amino acid that's essentially the building block for a lot of very, very important cells, and it can only come from animal protein. So for all of my vegetarian and vegan friends and clients, that is awesome, my hat's off to you, but your cat cannot be vegan. They have to have taurine supplemented, or else we can have issues like retinal degeneration, so an eye disease that they will lose their sight. It can also lead to heart disease. So make sure your cat has a nice high protein, low carbohydrate, moderate fat diet that is supplemented with taurine. Those are our ground rules right there. Ingredients to avoid. So again, looking for the lowest carbohydrate diet we can is gonna help us in the long run. Other things like grains and fillers, those are big things to avoid. Now, we oftentimes get the question, what ingredient causes a food allergy? Again, it's a very complicated process, but more often than not, cats are not allergic to a carbohydrate or one specific thing. They're usually allergic to an animal protein. So typically fish, sometimes chicken, and it can cause dermatologic issues, it can cause GI issues, and just lead to a cat that's really not thriving like they should. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's an indication of the quality of the food. We wanna make sure we're feeding a high quality, but that doesn't always equate to having issues with food allergies. That was a lot of information all at once, but we have a lot of questions from our viewers, and we'll go ahead and dive right into what you guys really want to know. So first one is wet food versus dry food. Rule of thumb is wet food for an otherwise healthy cat is usually the best route if they will eat it. It's also very important if you have a kitten to essentially get them desensitized to both types of food. Sometimes we can see kittens really only gravitate towards one, and then when they're an adult, may not eat it later in life. So try and expose your kitten to different consistencies, shapes of different foods. Wet food is usually much higher in protein. We have a lot more moisture content, which can keep their kidneys healthy in the long run, and it's much lower in carbohydrates. But that's not to say we can't add a few little dental treats or kibbles to help with their dental health.
Exactly, and some cats just don't like wet food. That's a weird thing to say, and a lot of owners don't get it, but sometimes they just don't take to it. So in those situations, if you have a cat that is dry food only, it would be best to start trying to add some moisture in other ways, just to make sure that they're getting the correct makeup and getting moisture that would be found in wet food that we don't have in dry food.
This is a really hot topic. Are raw diets better for my cat? A lot of people will argue, well, in the wild, they don't cook their prey, so why can't I feed a raw food diet? And the answer is cats are domesticated, meaning their immune system, their normal flora and bacteria in their GI tract has been adapted to foods that have been processed and sterilized and handled in a way where they don't have foodborne pathogens in them, similar to humans. And so if we start feeding our cat a raw diet, it could predispose them to issues like salmonella or other diseases like that. It could also expose you and your family to those foodborne pathogens if you're feeding your cat exclusively raw diet. So when we have the option to feed something that we know is safe for our families and for our cats and is just as well balanced, then that's often my go-to recommendation.
A raw food diet is a lot of work too. A lot of time, right? A lot of research as well.
Can I feed my cat dog food? What do you think about that one, Rach?
The real answer is no. If you had asked me if I have cats that have eaten dog food and enjoyed it quite thoroughly, that answer is yes. But it is not a complete nutritional makeup for them. I would not recommend it.
We want to make sure we're really sticking to a feline-specific diet that is balanced and fortified. And then our last question, what does malnutrition look like?
It can take some time before you see the actual signs of malnutrition. A lot of times the first one is just unthriftiness, and they'll lose their coat shine. They're not getting enough vitamins and minerals to really solidify and keep them healthy.
Malnutrition can come from diet alone, but it can also come from certain GI or gastrointestinal diseases within this very specific little GI tract. And it's always a good idea before starting any new diet, even if your cat doesn't have any outstanding issues, to consult with your veterinarian. They know your pet best, and at the end of the day, that's really the best final say.
And a lot of questions that we get sometimes is, well, I'd like to switch my food. How do I go about that? Slow is always better. A slow introduction and mixing a percentage of the new food in with the old food while they get used to it to transition is always suggested. If not, you could end up with some GI upset or just a general refusal to eat whatever the new food is that you have now chosen for your pet.
So I know we just gave you guys a ton of information, but if we missed anything, if you have any more questions or concerns, or if you want to know more specific topics related to your cat's diet, post them down in the comments below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on the latest tips and tricks for your pet.
And we also love to hear any success stories of switching your cat's diet, tips and tricks to ensure they're getting the healthy maintenance that they need, and how to do that without them sticking their nose up at it.